Welcome to Spindrifter. It's good to be here. Speaking of welcomes, I'm reminded of the last time I went to the city of Liverpool here in the UK. I'm sure pretty much everybody's heard of Liverpool on account of its football team. If not that, on account of the Beatles, maybe you may well have heard of them. But anyway, I was going to Liverpool. I'd been sent there by the organisation I work for to take part in a European Union working party on older people's housing, and I arrived at Liverpool at probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night by train. Not quite sure where I was going. I knew the hotel wasn't far from the railway station, but I didn't know how far, and I thought, well, that's okay, I'll get off the train, I'll get out the front of the station, I'll ask somebody. Not many people about, but there was a fella standing there, and I approached him with the intention of saying, can you tell me where I might find such and such a hotel? But I didn't have the opportunity, because no sooner did he see me approaching him that he took a swing at me. Big meat cleaver of a fist coming flying through the air at me. I managed to dodge back and get out the way, and he swung past, fell over, landed on his butt, and I walked off laughing to myself, thinking, well, how's that for a welcome in Liverpool? And funnily enough, I haven't been back since. But no, you're not going to get that here. You are very, very welcome here. And if you're someone who is welcome nowhere else, you're welcome here with us at Spindrifter. It's good to talk to you. What I want to do today is just share a further reason why I believe in God. And you might think, well, I don't really care why you believe in God, and that's fine. But the reason the reason I'm sharing it is because it may be of help to somebody somewhere. In the first part of the session, I addressed the question: is this all that there is? And as far as I'm concerned, this is not all that there is. There is more to life than what we can see and experience. The second part of the session, I talked about what I consider to be adequate proof that satisfies me that God exists, that God is, that there is a being, a creative, superior being to us. And the third session is a little bit more simplistic, really, because as I thought about it, I thought, well, there's another reason that I chose to believe in God, isn't there? Just before I get to that, I just wanted to briefly reflect upon how it would be if I choose not to believe in God. If I choose not to believe in God, I choose to accept and therefore believe that everything that exists is all that there is, and that it made itself over a very long period of time, and that's that basically. And if I choose to believe that is my faith, effectively. And I thought, in going through that, I thought, well, faith, what exactly is? And a good definition of faith is a complete trust or confidence in someone or something. A complete trust or confidence in someone or something, or if maybe not a complete trust or confidence, but a great deal of trust or confidence in someone or something. That, I think, is an acceptable definition of faith. So if I choose not to believe in God and choose to accept that this is all that there is, I am having trust and confidence effectively in the theory of evolution, aren't I? That's what I'm expressing. And as I was thinking about faith, I thought, well, what's the difference between faith and an act of faith? And I'm going to be just briefly touching upon acts of faith. So I figured it'd be a good idea to get a definition of that as well. An act of faith is an action that demonstrates a person's strength of convictions. An act of faith is an action that demonstrates a person's strength of convictions. And I think that's a reasonable description of an act of faith. So permit me to express a couple of alternative ways in which we all, or many of us, express an act of faith. First of all, if you live in a democratic country, the chances are, if you're of a certain age or above, that you will have taken part in the election of a government, either a local government or a national government. In so doing, you will have put your cross on a voting slip next to the candidate that you have decided to vote for, and in so doing you are expressing an act of faith that that candidate will do what they say they're going to do. Many's the time when they don't. Much of the time they don't, and in fact they often end up being something that could be described as a lying, deceiving, cheating toe rag. But at the point at which we elect them, we carry out an act of faith. We place our trust in them. We choose to believe in them. Travel, that's another one. Do you know, I mean, statistics are statistics, you can make them do whatever you want, can't you? But generally speaking, I managed to find out that if you go on a cruise, which I gather lots of people do, not my thing, I don't like the idea of having to wear a suit just to eat my dinner. Like, nah, thank you very much, I'll pass. I'll leave that for people who like to do that kind of thing. I dress up like a penguin just to eat some food. Just give me a sandwich, you know. But if you do go on a cruise, did you know that the chances of you losing your life on that cruise are 1 in 68,000 apparently? Now I think that's quite significant odds. And yet people get on cruise ships every week of the year, apart from when there's a COVID outbreak or something, and they do it without realising that actually they're placing their trust and their faith in the cruise line, the ship, the captain, the weather, all sorts of factors that could cause them a problem. So getting on a cruise ship, it's an act of faith. Getting on a train is another act of faith. If you're getting on a train to travel from point A to point B, you have a 250,000 to 1 chance of not making it alive. And yet, like the cruise ships, we all get on the trains without giving it a second thought. We place our faith in the train driver. One person at the front of the train. I'm sure there's lots of fail-safe devices to keep us safe, but every now and again, do we not see examples of a train crash where people lose their lives? So you get on a train, it's an act of faith. Getting in a motor car, an automobile, whatever you call it, now that's a huge act of faith, because every time you do it, there's a chance, a 20,000 to 1 chance that you won't get out of that car and be alive when you do. And I think that's quite a high chance, but not as high as the 240 to 1 statistical chance of you losing your life in a car crash at some point during your lifetime. And yet we get in the car all the time. I've done it this morning, just to drive around from one place to another 4 miles apart. I often don't think, mostly don't think, that to do so is a great act of faith. I have no control over the behaviour of other drivers, and yet I trust them not to drive into the front of my car and smash it to pieces. It's an act of faith. In the UK here, 6 to 7 people a day, something like that on average, lose their lives in road traffic accidents. When did that ever become acceptable? 6 to 7 people a day losing their lives in road traffic accidents. I actually think that is scandalous. That's not acceptable. How could that ever be acceptable? And yet, we keep on getting in cars and we keep on trusting that we'll get out of them and be all right. We choose to do things, don't we? We choose to do things because we can choose to do them. Or we choose not to. And that's the alternative, isn't it? And when we choose to do things, we're often carrying out an act of faith without giving it a second thought. And here's my third reason to believe in God, to believe in the existence of a higher being, to believe in the existence of a higher creative being. It's a very simple reason. Because I can. I have the option. And because I have the option, I choose to do so. It's 50-50, because either God exists or God doesn't exist. To me, that's heads or tails. It's 50-50. I choose to believe that the being that we call God does exist. And I choose not to accept the alternative. So what is the alternative? Well, the alternative is that I would choose that God, to believe that God does not exist. And if I'm going to believe that God does not exist, then I need to live my life in accordance with what I've chosen to believe. An act of faith. But that would be a life without purpose. On a planet without purpose. In a universe without purpose. Why do I say that? Because if there is no creative being, then it all happened by itself. There's no reason for it. It's an accident. And therefore none of it matters. Now, I think it takes a greater act of faith for me to believe in that and to live in accordance with that than it does for me to believe in God. And you might say, well, that shows you're just being a bit weak. Well, maybe, I don't know. But I would rather choose to believe in God and act upon that than choose not to believe in God and act upon that. I mean, what would that look like? If there is no higher being and therefore no purpose in life, why should I care about anybody else? Why would I give a monkeys about people who have no food? Why would I care about somebody who's got to sleep out on the streets and it's -4 degrees? Why would I care about the people who lose their lives in road traffic accidents every day in the United Kingdom? Why would I care about war in the Ukraine, about famine in Ethiopia, etc., etc.? I wouldn't, would I? All I would care about is me and my immediate comfort and my immediate desire. Why would I care about law? There can't be right or wrong if there's no purpose. Things just exist. You're right, my right, you're wrong, my wrong. They're all different because we're all evolving differently. That's how I would have to live if I chose not to believe in God. I don't want to live like that. I don't feel right to me. there's something inside of me that says, no, 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 that is not how it should be. So putting it mildly, I don't like the alternative. And I think most people, if they're going to be honest with themselves, would also not like the alternative. And the funny thing is that when you look around in society and you see the way, generally speaking, most people, not everybody, but most people behave, their actions are generally not in keeping with not having belief in God. Most people that I come across have got a social conscience, for example. You get the occasional person who would laugh at somebody who's got severe learning disabilities, for example, or would poke fun at somebody who's got a mental health problem, or would tease somebody who's crippled and in a wheelchair. You get the odd person who would do that, but most of us would know that that's not something we should do, and we wouldn't do it. Our behaviour and our actions are, for the greater part, more in keeping with an act of faith on the part of somebody who does believe in the existence of a higher being, rather than somebody who doesn't. You got to make your own mind up. I'm not here to try and bend anybody's mind to my way of thinking. I'm not in the slightest bit interested in doing that. You got to make your own mind up, and you need to work it out for yourself, as I have done, and many other people like me. But there is one thing that I would say that is non-negotiable, and there's one thing that we all have in common, whether we like it or not, whether God exists or not. This life that we're currently living in, all of us, it's temporary. It's not permanent. Your physical existence on earth is not going to last forever. Sometimes you might think it will, especially when you're younger. Get to be my age and you start to think, I hope. Ain't quite so much left in the tank now, is there? It starts to feel like it too, believe me. And yet, I remember my father saying to me, you know, son, he said, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to realise you're 50 years of age and you're going to wonder where that went. Well, he was right. He was right. Life will pass you by. And then what? What after that? What happens after that? Well, that takes me full circle all the way back to the first question I asked. Is this all that there is? You decide for yourself. All I'm saying to anybody really is, if you're searching, keep searching. If you haven't started searching, get a move on. You don't know how long you've got left. You might be one of those 1 in 240 people who's going to lose their life in a car accident this year. Don't mess about. It's precious. Seek answers. And if you do that, be sure that the answers that you're looking for, they will find you. I have confidence in that. And when they do, I'm equally confident that those answers will be quite a bit more simple than you might have expected. Have a good day. I hope that's been of help to somebody somewhere. If it hasn't, well, I shared it anyway. I won't have to do it again, will I? You won't have to listen to me twice. But hopefully it will have been some use to somebody somewhere. Be blessed. Have a great day. And whatever you're doing, insofar as it is down to you, then be the best person you can for the people around you. Have a top day, be blessed, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.